Lottie Henderson Dorr evaluation. Question 1. In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? When we began to plan our film opening, we wanted to follow similar conventions of certain other media products. For our opening, we used other film noirs and neo-noirs to base our film upon. We each watched a variety of film noirs and neo-noirs to broaden our group's understanding of the typical conventions. These films, and therefore our influences, developed into an original idea whilst still allowing us to focus our ideas around other well-known films. To begin with, Quicksand had a simple plot which we wanted to follow so that our audience could easily understand the storyline. The simplicity also helped with our overall ideas. Pretty Little Liars is an American TV series targeted at teenagers and young adults, which had one episode in film noir, which was shadow play. This inspired us to focus on the key lighting techniques for our femme fatale and male protagonist, therefore allowing our audience to relate to the characters' feelings and emotions. We were also inspired by the character Alison De Laurentiis to base our femme fatale around, as she is quite a manipulative character who retains the sexual allure of a traditional femme fatale. The film The Killing helped us to focus on our lighting techniques and build up of tension through the plot to the audience. Drive influenced us by presenting the male protagonist as a mechanic, showing that he doesn't earn lots of money, which is unlike classic film noirs. This film also demonstrated that the music has a huge impact on the audience by creating the build-up of tension and suspense by having high-pitched monotone drones. Double Indemnity also used a small number of locations effectively, and this secured our knowledge that it can be done while still creating an effective build-up of tension. Suspect Zero was filmed in colour as it is neo-noir, but it proved to us that even though it isn't a typical film noir, the conventions of film noir can still be incorporated, meaning that we were able to use certain aspects of film noir but were able to still keep it as a part of the modern era. We followed some typical conventions of film noir by presenting our femme fatale as flirtatious towards our unwitting male protagonist. She is shown to be persuasive and able to get what she wants out of specific situations. We followed the convention of having a romantic foreplay of a relationship. However, we subverted this convention by presenting our femme fatale as being completely in control and not at all vulnerable. In addition, all of the characters are obsessed with something that they desire. For example, the femme fatale is driven by money and the male protagonist by love. They are compelled by their nature and driven by their desires. We challenged the typical convention that the male protagonist has a particularly high-paying job. Instead, we made him a mechanic and therefore working class. Overall, we have considered and incorporated typical conventions but have modernised the film noir genre to appeal to a modern day audience. Question 2. How does your media product represent particular social groups? Our group's male protagonist highlights the working class as he is seen working for his own money, shown at the start of our opening when he is presented as working as a garage mechanic. This working class manual role contrasts with many of the ways in which men are typically presented in film noir. Whereas our femme fatale is presented as a more traditional woman, as she is shown not working for her own money and using men to her advantage. However, we have presented our femme fatale as an anti-stereotype, where she is strong and independent, unlike our male protagonist. We subverted the traditional conventions of male dominance in the protagonist and presented him as weak and dependent on the woman, giving the roles a modern-day twist. We highlighted his stress levels by using a cigarette as an easily identifiable prop. Overall, our opening retains some stereotypes so that the audience recognise the genre, but we also try to challenge others to convey different social groups and modernise it. Question 3. What kind of media institution might distribute your media product and why? We would expect a small British independent film company to distribute our film because it is low budget and will have an appeal with a niche market audience. To determine the best possible audience, we conducted audience research where we asked a wide range of people who they thought would be a good audience for our film. After the research, we determined that the best audience for our film is people 20 years and over, mainly due to the sophisticated and unique plot. Also, we believe that an audience of this age will be able to appreciate the black and white element of the film and may be able to relate it back to the correct era and genre. In addition, we researched British independent film companies such as Artificial Eye and how they distribute their films. As they have such a low budget, they appear to struggle compared to the larger distribution companies such as Sony, who distributed the James Bond film Spectre. British independent films are recognised for their sophisticated and interwoven plots, so have a specific target audience who would appreciate their difference. Larger distribution films have a greater budget, so are able to distribute their films to a wider audience, so tend to have a worldwide appeal. Artificial Eye would be ideal for our film because they have previously distributed film noirs, whereas larger distribution companies tend to distribute bigger films and neo-noirs rather than film noirs. Question 4. Who would be the audience for your media product? We conducted audience research and asked a variety of questions to try and determine our best possible audience. The younger participants thought that the film was too complex and did not appreciate the mystery, suspense, or the film noir aspects. They were clear that it would not draw them to the cinema, whereas these same elements interested the 20-year-olds and upwards cinema goers. Older groups recognised and reminisced about the black and white element, which contrasted to the 20-year-olds who recognised it as a reassurance of older style techniques. The final research suggested that the film will appeal to both genders due to the working class male protagonist and the alluring femme fatale. The audience for our film will be 20 years old and upwards, who enjoy niche market cinema viewing, sophistication of plot, and identifiable features of the film noir genre. Question 5. How did you attract and address your audience? We addressed our audience by making the plot slightly complex, full of mystery, and in keeping with the film noir genre. We specifically wanted to make sure that the audience would be able to know why we created the film in black and white and appreciate the significance of this choice. Our plot has some complex features which could be difficult for a younger generation to understand. We hoped our target audience would appreciate the elements of film noir while still enjoying the modern twist. Our actor and actress in the opening allows our target audience to relate to the characters because they are of a similar age range. As part of our research, we determined whether our audience would like a male or female protagonist and whether they would prefer a cliffhanger or not. This helped us to structure our film in the best possible way to attract and engage our audience. Question 6. What have you learned about technologies from the process of constructing this product? Before AS Level Media, I had not previously studied media, meaning that I had a lot to learn in ways of filming, lighting and editing. Through the process of producing this film, I have learnt many new techniques. Initially, through the small projects like the preliminary task, I learnt how to use iMovie to edit. However, as a group, we thought that iMovie was too simplistic for editing our opening. So we learnt how to use Final Cut Pro 10 from a previous A-level student. Final Cut Pro 10 allowed us to change our film from colour to black and white by using the filter provided by the software. We used the transitions to do a fade to black and white and a cross dissolve so that we were able to show a passing of time. This process allowed me to develop my knowledge of Web 2.0 tools such as Prezi, Visme, GoConquer, SurveyMonkey, MindMap and GoAnimate. These tools have made it easier to show the progress of our film on our blogs. We were able to develop our skills using GarageBand too, so that we could create our suspense-building music to go along with our film. Question 7. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learned in the progression from it to the full product? The skills that I initially learnt from producing that task have dramatically improved and developed. I have been able to develop a considerably broader knowledge base of filming techniques. In our opening, we used the 180-degree rule to initially highlight the separation between our two characters. Later, we constructed their distance with their closeness as they enjoyed a romantic dinner. This was shown in our preliminary task when the two characters were talking opposite each other at the table. We used a match on action in our opening when the femme fatale was getting out of her car. This was to make the shots appear continuous to our audience. Again, this was shown in our preliminary task when our actor walked into the room through the door. We used a shot reverse shot when our two characters were on a date together to show the emotions on both characters when talking to each other. This type of shot is normally used in a conversation in many blockbuster films such as The Hunger Games, Spider-Man and Spectre. Lastly, I learnt the importance of continuity in films.